happy to have started this session. For the next 20 minutes or so, we are going to listen to multiple stories. And there is going to be a variation. I thought, and just as some of you know that I'm a spontaneous teller, I must be telling stories closer to my heart. Something which has touched me personally. So here, before we begin, because it's independence, because it's Indian independence, our freedom, the various struggles that our great heroes have done, their sacrifices and their efforts, as a tribute to all our national heroes then and even today, the many soldiers and the comrades, a great salute to you all. Jai Hind. It's because of you we are sitting here and freely we have this speech of freedom, that we're just freely here trying to celebrate our sense of freedom. So as a tribute to all our national heroes, here we begin the session with a small yet very powerful song from Tamil Nadu, written by the revolutionary poet and singer Subramanya Bharati. And to help us begin this beautiful song, we have Shiva. So Shiva will be singing the song to add to the melody to the session. So yes, here we have Shiva. Can you help us?
வணக்கம். ஆடுவோமே பல்லு பாடுவோமே, ஆனந்த சுதந்திரம் அடைந்திட்டோமே. ஆடுவோமே பல்லு பாடுவோமே, ஆனந்த சுதந்திரம் அடைந்திட்டோமே. ஆடுவோம் ஆடுவோம் ஆடுவோமே, எங்கும் சுதந்திரம் என்பதை பேச்சு, எங்கும் சுதந்திரம் என்பதை பேச்சு. விடுதலை விடுதலை விடுதலை, எங்கும் சுதந்திரம் என்பதை பேச்சு, எங்கும் சுதந்திரம் என்பதை பேச்சு. நாம் எல்லோரும் சமம் என்பதுறுதியாச்சு, நாம் எல்லோரும் சமம் என்பதுறுதியாச்சு. சங்கு கொண்டே வெற்றி ஊடுவோமே, சங்கு கொண்டே வெற்றி ஊடுவோமே. வண்டே மாற்றம் வண்டே மாற்றம் வண்டே மாற்றம், சங்கு கொண்டே வெற்றி ஊடுவோமே, சங்கு கொண்டே வெற்றி ஊடுவோமே. இதை தரணிகெல்லாம் எடுத்து ஓடுவோமே, இதை தரணிகெல்லாம் எடுத்து ஓடுவோமே. ஆடுவோமே உழவுக்கும் தொழிலுக்கும் வண்டனை செய்வோம், உழவுக்கும் தொழிலுக்கும் வண்டனை செய்வோம். வீணில் உண்டு கலைத்திருப்போரை நிந்தனை செய்வோம், வீணில் உண்டு கலைத்திருப்போரை நிந்தனை செய்வோம். விழலுக்கு நீர் பாய்ச்சி மாயமாட்டோம், விழலுக்கு நீர் பாய்ச்சி மாயமாட்டோம். வேறும் வீரனுக்குழை தொடரும் ஓயமாட்டோம், வேறும் வீரனுக்குழை தொடரும் ஓயமாட்டோம். ஆடுவோமே நாம் இருக்கும் நாடு நமதென்பதறிந்தோம், நாம் இருக்கும் நாடு நமதென்பதறிந்தோம். இனி நமக்கே உரிமையாம் என்பதறிந்தோம், இனி நமக்கே உரிமையாம் என்பதறிந்தோம். பூமியில் எவர்க்கும் இனி அடிமை செய்யோம், பூமியில் எவர்க்கும் இனி அடிமை செய்யோம். பரிபூரணருக்கே அடிமை செய்து வாழ வாழ்வோம். பூமியில் எவர்க்கும் இனி அடிமை செய்யோம். பூமியில் எவர்க்கும் இனி அடிமை செய்யோம். பரிபூரணருக்கே அடிமை செய்து வாழ்வோம். பரிபூரணருக்கே அடிமை செய்து வாழ்வோம். ஆடுவோமே பல்லு பாடுவோமே, ஆனந்த சுதந்திரம் அடைந்து விட்டோம். ஆடுவோமே பல்லு பாடுவோமே, ஆனந்த சுதந்திரம் அடைந்து விட்டோம். ஆடுவோம் ஆடுவோம் ஆடுவோமே, ஆடுவோம் ஆடுவோம் ஆடுவோமே, ஆடுவோம் ஆடுவோம் ஆடுவோமே.
Nandri, Nandri Shiva, Nandri, it was wonderful. Thank you for sharing this song. It's so powerful. You know that? You know why we are there today for this celebration?
Yes, we are here.
Can you
today.
be louder?
We are here today to celebrate the day of independence of our country, India.
So how many years of independence that we have as of today?
Today is the 75th Independence Day.
75 years. Okay, so from 1947 and till this 2022, it's 75 long years of freedom, right? So you know who gave us this freedom?
Freedom fighters, of course.
Freedom
Subhash
fighters.
Chandra,
Okay.
Subhash Chandra Bose,
Okay.
Mahatma Gandhi.
Okay.
Then our Subramani Bari, there is also a freedom fighter only, but he was fighting for freedom via poems.
Okay. He was a revolutionary poet. He brought in empowerment, thoughts of empowerment, visionary thoughts. The freedom. Super. And anybody else because you are from Tamil Nadu, of course, I will ask you. So anybody else from Tamil Nadu, one very young freedom fighter. He was well known for flag. Holding our Indian flag. You know his name? You want to know his name? Because you know what, today is even more special because for the last 2-3 days in India we have got the privilege of hosting flags in all our homes and offices, right? So meaning it is mostly to do with the Har Ghar Tiranga campaign that is running. So meaning we can host flags across. So because it's flag everywhere, our Indian flag everywhere. So I thought today first story comes from Tamil Nadu because it started from Tamil songs. So I thought on Tamil story, Tamil freedom fighter story. And also about that freedom fighter who just loved, or say who had more than his life, it was the flag. It was the pride of the flag, the pride of the nation that he counted more. You know what his name was? His name, popularly he was known as Tirupur Kumaran. Okay, Kodikatra Tirupur Kumaran. So can I continue my story, dear?
Yes.
Okay, so thank you. I want you to be here because we have some more surprises. Super. Okay, so the first story comes to you from Tamil Nadu. The story of a very young blood, 27-year-old young man who was working in a small mill in Tirupur, hardly with a salary of say 30 rupees per month. I am talking about around 1932, when this young man, who was actually having his originated from Erode, a small village called Chinnamalai, whose parents were quite poor. They were weavers by profession, with absolutely no income. For the only purpose of getting income for the family, he had relocated to Tirupur. For this meager income, of course, things could have been very okay. He could have maintained his family well because he was getting some salary. All was fine. He could have been a very good family man. But during that time, the fire of freedom, the need of freedom from those who had invaded the land, our land. So this fire was outbursting every corner of this country, of this land. And so, with the inspiration of Mahatma Gandhi, this young man, whose name was Kumaran, this young man thought of taking up into national movement, national freedom fighting movement. So he, along with his few other young men, joined along the reform. He wanted to follow the Gandhi steps, Mahatma Gandhi steps. So he went around in the local, there will be heads of freedom fighters there locally. So he would join them and they will get into any of such protests or revolution, whatever, anything to do with freedom fighting thing, slogan, you say, Vande Mataram, then he was there in front. So that was kind of energy that he had. He was a good leader. He had that fire. And one fine day, it was so that during the same period, now that the flag which was up, the Britishers, they had given a prohibition of not hosting any Indian flag, because of course India was not free. It was under the clutches, under the invasion of the British Empire. So they were not supposed to host the flags anywhere freely. So to protest against it, now Tirupur Kumaran one day took on a march with just 9 more young men behind him. It so happened they had planned for a big protest, but on the very day, the morning when he landed on that day of the place of protest, he found the actual leader who was supposed to come had not come. He had 2 options. One, to just leave it and go back to his office to continue his day. Then option 2, to continue the protest that he was having in his heart, to continue the plan that they had made for the day. You guessed it right. He chose the option 2. He took up the flag. Now flag, when I say flag, what flag? It was the same flag, the tricolor flag, the saffron white and green and middle, the Ashok Chakra flag, that how was he holding? No. Before 1947, the flag had a different dimension. It was a different, shape. So it was red, it was white and green, and then in between there was Mahatma Gandhi's chakra. That spinning chakra. So that was the actual flag that was there during that time. So it was big, it was too big, and he had held that flag in his hand. And he protested. The day was that he had to go to the Tirupur police station there, and he wanted to hoist that flag on the police station. That was the whole plan. So they started walking and they started protesting. Vande Mataram! Vande Mataram! And Tirupur Kumaran, he was holding the flag in his hand. Now as they approached near the police station will have obviously the Indian sepoys, the Indian soldiers, the policemen, and also the Britishers, but all were working for British. So whatever was told as an order, they had to follow, and everybody had lathis with oil, and anybody coming into protest, that's it, without any questions, tuck, trashing anybody coming on their way, right? This was a well-known, happening across during that phase of time. So Kumaran going in front of the police station, and he's shouting with the slogan, Vande Mataram, Mahatma Gandhi ki jai, Mahatma Gandhi ki jai. And as he was holding high the flag, there came a policeman and he thrashed his leg and gave a nice thrash and, hey, don't you know you should know how's the flag here? Put down the flag right away. But Kumaran, who had every minute when that officer was asking him to pull down the flag, he was making sure the flag was getting higher and higher. He was holding it higher and higher. And then, of course, the lathi charge was even higher and higher. And it started from the leg, it started to the hip, and then to the back, and then to the neck, and then to the top, and to the head. And there came not one or two, many thrashes from many policemen, and they started thrashing Kumaran on his head. just on his head as they thrashed. The skull was supposed to be so strong, could hear the cracks. There was cracks not only in his voice but also from internal skull. And there he shouted, Vande Mataram! Vande Mataram! And as he was shouting, his hands were still up, holding the flag. And as he fell down onto the ground with the thrashing lathis, as he into the ground, but still going unconscious, still his hand went up and he held the stick onto the ground, but the flag raising above, roaring into the sky. And with his last breath he said, Vande Mataram. And the very minute he gave up his life, everybody around came around and they just surrounded him, and they saw a pool of blood flowing from his ears and from behind the skull. He was cold, lifeless on that ground, just in front of a police station with men of English and Indian with the uniform standing ruthlessly. And everybody's eyes went to that stick and to the flag, which was singing along with the wind, with a melody of Vande Mataram, Vande Mataram, as if the soul of Kumaran had got into the flag and it stood heavy up in the air, not touching the ground. That was his fire, that was his patriotism for the country. No matter what happens, flag should not touch the ground, which is the pride of our nation. The respect that he wanted to show to the flag, to our nation. The 27-year young man lost his life. But this incident inspired many more people, young and old, to think twice about their cowardness, to think twice about their silence that they're having it. And then he was undoubtedly termed the hero. Not just that, until today he is known as the Kodikata Kumaran, means the man who protected our flag. A great freedom fighter from Tamil Nadu. Like this, there are many men, like countless men and women from whether the royal families to the sepoys or to the ordinary men. We have stories which you cannot even count. Likewise, my own mother's grandfather. Like my mother's grandfather was from a very small village from Tiruvarur in Tamil Nadu. Though he had a good job in Chidambaram, he was again so well inspired by Mahatma Gandhi's approach of khadi and non-violence. He started wearing only khadi clothes and he was very active in freedom fighting. So he was also a freedom fighter. His name was Radha Krishnan Iyer. Like he had gone into almost every protest wherever required, and he has also gone into, proudly you could say, there's a freedom fighter getting into the jail. So, in spite of having a good job, the men during those days, what I'm talking about between 1920s to 1947, this kind of around this 20-25 years or even before, the blood, the young blood had just one focus, one thought of we as Indian, we as one country, we have to rule away. Get rid of the foreign rule that is on our head. Because it's our home. The sense of unity was so heavy that, like Radhakrishnan Pillai, my mother's grandfather, there were so many men and women whose names may not have got even recorded in our history. Likewise, there are so many. Like as Shiva told, like Subhash Chandra Bose is there. There's a very popular names among children, right? Mahatma Gandhi is there. This Bhagat Singh, this. So there is n number of heroes that we have in our country who have shed their blood and their sweat and their voice and their any form of sacrifice that they could do for just one cause, and that was to bring a freeness, a sense to call, yes, it's our home. We have full rights to live in our home the way we want, and it's our home. We ought to build the walls. Why should a foreigner come in and take charge on us? The sense of unity. And that is freedom. And that is independence. 75 years, long years have gone by. India has come a long way. And here today, we are sitting to talk about diversity, unity. How beautiful the feeling is. We have so many religions, we have so much of differences in anything and everything you talk about, but still we are all one. As one India, that name Bharat, Indian, and all can proudly say Jai Hind. You know, when I'm talking about these heroes and this kind of thing, when I go back to my childhood, see, I have spent my primary, childhood in Bihar, in a small place called Katihar. Now there, I remember the sense of patriotism, because when I was born, we were already free. I didn't know what the freedom fighters had done for us, right? But the only way the elders, the adults can give that kind of boost, that kind of sensitization to the children is, one best way was through the school functions, the school Independence Day celebration. And till date, I am so happy to state that all the schools, all the academic institutions take it on a very high responsibility, and they impart this kind of sensitization to the children, even for this Gen Z and beyond generations. Because it's so important to have that feeling, that never to forget that once we were held in the hands of someone, and our home was not ours, but now we can live freely. We have the right to speak, we have right to education, we have right to this and that. We don't have to fear. We are very safe in our home. So likewise, when I was a child, I used to love going on this Independence Day celebration to the school. Not because they used to give us a flag and chocolate and sometimes biscuits, but also because whenever I used to know, this whole school would be like well cleaned, and they would have put that white color kind of a rangoli thing, and there would be like, our whole ground would be so colorful, and all where there's all flags and the colors, and all our friends, the students will be all dressed up with songs and dance and cultural programs and march past and this and that. Such a moment. But more than that, I always love going early before the program starts, because there is to be a huge speaker. Now we don't have that. It's like a huge kind of what do I call speaker, and ancient kind of a speaker, and then they would have put tape recorder, and in that one particular song in Hindi. Even today, when I listen to that, I became nostalgic, because that particular song kind of brings in like a goosebumps. Though I was born into a free India, still maybe the genes, the goosebumps comes in as if, yes, we are all Indians kind of feel comes in. So that one song, I want you all to listen as well. So here we bring the next song from Hindi. It's a Hindi song, which I'm sure most of you will know. So anyway, so you can also join if you know the song. So I'm going to call Shiva. He will sing for us. Yes, please come. Sing. Come, sit down. Sit down. Hindi. Action? Okay, do the action. He's going to do the action. Yes.
Today, now
You have to be sure. Loud.
Now I am going to sing the flag song of our own country, India, in Hindi.
Shout. Louder.
विजय विश्व तिरंगा प्यारा झंडा ऊंचा रहे हमारा विजय विश्व तिरंगा प्यारा झंडा ऊंचा रहे हमारा सदा शक्ति बरसाने वाला सदा शक्ति बरसाने वाला वीरों को हरसाने वाला वीरों को हरसाने वाला प्रेम सुधा बरसाने वाला प्रेम सुधा बरसाने वाला मातृभूमि का तन मन सारा मातृभूमि का तन मन सारा झंडा ऊंचा रहे हमारा झंडा ऊंचा रहे हमारा विजय विश्व तिरंगा प्यारा विजय विश्व तिरंगा प्यारा आओ प्यारे वीरों आओ आओ प्यारे वीरों आओ देश धर्म पर बलि बलि जाओ देश धर्म पर बलि बलि जाओ एक साथ सब मिलकर गाओ एक साथ सब मिलकर गाओ प्यारा भारत देश हमारा प्यारा भारत देश हमारा झंडा ऊंचा रहे हमारा झंडा ऊंचा रहे हमारा विजय विश्व तिरंगा प्यारा विजय विश्व तिरंगा प्यारा झंडा ऊंचा रहे हमारा
Jai
जय
Hind.
हिंद
Super, 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 Shiva. Yeah, so this was this Vijay Vishwa Tiranga. Super. See, it's all again flag songs and flag stories coming in. Yeah, it is. We are celebrating the Indian independence, the 75th Indian independence. Yeah, super. And we are running, the whole nation is running with this campaign called Har Ghar Tiranga campaign, meaning we are hosting flags. If you have not hosted, go ahead. If you're in India, go ahead, go to your terrace and take up a flag, our national flag, because even a petty shop, a small shop, they are selling the flag with so much josh. At least we experienced it. We have not just one but two. We have just decorated our whole house with our national flag, and not only us, our all neighbors and almost the entire street, all the houses, the offices, everybody, they have hosted their flags, and it looks so good. It looks like a Diwali coming in. We are all very happy, and I'm sure this is 75th Indian Independence Day, and this is national flag that we are hosting in every houses. So now, because all flag stories, can I ask you a question? I'm sure many of you again know this. Yeah, it's a general knowledge question. Now this, we are talking about national flag, and we know that it is tricolor. We know it is saffron, white and green, and then in between there's Ashoka Chakra with 24 spokes. Yes, this is very, very common, and we also know saffron means the strength, and the white means the purity and the truth, and then the green means the fertility, growth, and all this productivity. Yes, and then the 24 spokes, the Ashoka Chakra means it is dharma. It is also called the Dharma Chakra. Do your duty, right? And likewise, there are few other meanings associated with the kind of current flag. Yes, we do all know that. But the question is, who was the one who designed the initial flag? Again, that initial flag was not exactly what we are using today, but then he only started, designing that. Who was he, and what was his name? Anybody? Yes. I'm sure you all would have got it. Yes, it is called Pingali Vengaya. He actually first designed the flag on 1921, and during that time it was again tricolors, but it had red instead of saffron. It had red. Okay, and then in the middle it was the Gandhi spinning chakra. And later in 1947, as a resolution passed, and we all changed it to this. Okay. Now next question. Flag. Okay. Before 1921 also, there was a flag because India was getting its unity. It was getting united. With the long history of not being united, India was a land divided into many kingdoms and divided into many invasions. Okay, the small part of story comes after this particular portion, but before 1921 also there was a flag which Indians took it as protest to hoist it anywhere, everywhere. The British officers had their offices or the police stations or anywhere. Right? So they are hosting the flags. Do you know the first flag, the first ever flag, which was hosted in 1906. It was hosted in Kolkata. And that flag had again three colors, but it was yellow, red, yellow and green. Interesting, right? So yeah, so this 1906, this kind of protest happening. Oh wow. But for continuing this protest and freedom and all this happening, let me take back around more than how many years, or around 1600. Yeah, it's 1600, year 1600, when East India Company was started with the primary motto of coming into the East Southeast Asia and doing trading, doing business. That's how the company was formed and was governed by the England governance. Now, they came to India for the very first time in 1908. After 8 years of their formation, they came to India, to a port in Gujarat, Surat. Surat, a place known for great market and great traders. This was the place for the other foreign traders. So there were trades from Dutch and Portuguese, and everything was happening in India before also, because East India Company was like very latest, the last kind of. Before this, the history goes so rich, right? The land, the Indian, not India, that was no India. There was just a land which was divided into many kingdoms. There were rulers across, and they were fighting with each other for territory reasons and this reason and that reason. That was all there. And in between, they started coming invaders. Everybody started coming as businessmen, or somebody came as looters, but everybody came. And then, of course, we got it from Persia, we got it from Afghan, we got it from Dutch, we got it from Portuguese, French, and all these places. Finally, this Englishmen came. So, Englishmen were not very new. Before that, we had so many invaders who had already divided and had already taken, looted and went. Then so much of rich abundance was already lost from today's India, right? The Englishmen came, they saw, this place looks so good. Because they had heard a lot about India, this place. So they came in, and then they looked around, they went into the king of that time. They went in and they asked for lease. So the best thing they do, they enter the place and they would ask for a lease land to build their factory. Okay, so they were very friendly. They got a place to lease, and they started building a factory, and that was first entry. And by 1911, they went into the Deccan side, on the today's Andhra Pradesh side, in Masulambattinam. So there they went and they built their next place, slowly but steadily, within 200 years. Okay, they came around 1608 and till around 1857, nearly more than 200 years. They turned from merely businessmen to friends, to consultants, to tax collectors, and finally took over whole governance. We say, we have this popular story, right? The four brothers, they were not united and they were fighting with each other. So the father gives them one stick and they ask them to break, and they break it, it's broken. But when they are united, when all the four sticks are coming together, they tie it together and they try to break it, it was not broken. The same story applies to in that time India also, right? No, but now there was no unity, there was nothing. There was only fighting here and there. And when there was fighting here and there, outsiders is easy to come. So easy. And then how it's all this happened, and without even knowing, we realize that we do not have our very home. The Rajas are losing their power. The system is getting corrupted. There is so much of discrimination. And then the discrimination, the common people, who could voice from the common people? But the very first recorded big kind of revolution broke. Did you say 1957 mutiny? No, I must correct you. The very first recorded, the highest, it went about one whole day. The biggest kind of revolution happened not from the common man, not from the royal people, but from the sepoys, the Indian recruits. I mean, the Indians who were recruited into the English policemen, English army. They started revolting. They had Islamic brothers, they had Hindu brothers. So there was no clash between Islam and Hindu that time. No, there was no clash even today. There was a clash with these against the English rules. And this clash happened again in South India, in Tamil Nadu, in a place called Vellore. This is called Vellore Mutiny, where around 300 sepoys, they lost their lives. More than 200 sepoys lost their jobs just because they revolted against the rules that were set by the Englishmen. And what was the rule? Indian men were not shy from working, they were not shy from even beating the common men because it was given the order. No. But India was very religious, it was quite sentimental even today, right? We are so rooted to our culture, our religion. Our Islamic brothers were asked to take out their beard and trim their moustache because it was the uniform standard. Take out their turban and they were to wear that hat. And our Hindu brothers were asked to take out that tilak. Now, was there anything? Now, this was the greatest kind of something that they could not handle it. So this was the main reason for the revolt started happening. There were some bold voices which came out from the sepoy, from the eternal soldiers themselves. So this happened not in 1857. The Vellore Mutiny happened in even far beyond 1857. So the war broke in 1806. The Vellore was now like a war place. Englishmen fighting against the soldiers of their own recruits, but of Indian origin. That gave an example, a certain benchmark for the actual Indian revolution of 1857, which started in Meerut. It took up such a momentum, the same style of revolt that was started in Meerut in 1857 took up momentum and went across the country so much that finally the East India Company had to fall down 2 feet. And there came the Indian Government Act of 1958, which just took away the East India Company's power. And now, India was not under the control of East India Company, and neither was it free. Though the demand for having the Hindustan under the ruler himself, the Raja himself, was not taken seriously as well. In fact, the British Empire took over. They took over directly. And then from 1958 till 1947, they ruled our country. And in this period, yes, there were great national heroes which came into visibility, and we had so many stories. Whether it is Subhash Chandra Bose or Bhagat Singh or Rani Lakshmi, anything, you name it, you have the stories of the kings and the queens and the prince and the princess and the sepoys and the common men and women and even few children who had fought their blood and sweat and night and day and money and everything they given us only for the freedom, not for them but for us, for today's generation to sit aram se without any fear. Because we are living in our home, this sense of freedom was given by the national heroes of those times. So during this 75th Indian Independence Day, I am so happy that I got this opportunity to share my part as a tribute to all our national heroes of that time and even today's the soldiers, the sepoys, the great men, the warriors, the comrades, the doctors, the teachers, and the great leaders who are striving for one thing, that is national building through youth, through safety measures, through no corruption. Clean India is what we aim. Responsible citizens and youth, that's what we aim. And we say, we stay united. We love the colors that we have within India. We stay united as all brothers and sisters. Thank you for joining this program with me, Srividya Veeraraghavan, the founder, Story Train, Chennai. Thank you for joining in. Happy Independence Day. Jai Hind. Vande Mataram. Vande Mataram. Sujalam Sufalam Malayaj Sheetalam Sasya Syamalam Mataram Vande